Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So in this video today, I'll be talking about an app that if you're a writer, you can make money by publishing your work on it. And before we jump into the video, I do want to state that I am a user of this platform and have been since 2016. So this isn't a video of me going over something that I'm not 100% familiar with. Also, if you want to apply, because you will have to apply to upload stories and write stories and earn money, because as of right now, you can only read stories on the app, not write like Wattpad. So if you want to apply as a writer for Radish, the link for that will be posted in the description box below. But before you click it and go over there to sign up, let's first go through a few things that you need to know and a few things that you can expect if you do get approved to become a writer. So first things first, the app is called Radish Fiction, and like most reading apps currently on the market, it's all about serialized fiction. So having content delivered in bite-sized pieces is what they like to call it, versus a whole chunk of a book. Radish is currently available on iOS and Android devices, and it is formatted to work with tablets as well. Now, as far as the content goes that's currently on the app, if you browse through the home page, you'll see books that are written by various authors, some well known. And if you go over to the Explorer page, where you can see the different tags for stories, categories, etc., then you'll also find a lot of content from indie authors and regular authors like me who may not have anything self-published on the market or anything like that. So you get a little bit of everything as far as content goes, as well as quality. So, you know, there's that. And another thing that I want to point out before getting into the good stuff is that this app also has chat stories within it. So it's actually a new feature that they rolled out last year. So if you're into that, you'll really like this app, having your books and chat stories all in one place. Now let's talk about how you can make money from your stories once your application gets approved and you gain access to the writer's dashboard, which is where you can start uploading your stories, editing, etc. The first thing that you need to be aware of is, one, what type of story you can and want to upload to Radish. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because it should be obvious, but pretty much this is not the app for anything dealing with rape, incest, bestiality, smut with no plot, basically just sex stories, etc. That shit will get you deleted, so don't even try it. And the same thing goes with your title, the title of your book. Don't have it explicit as hell, as well as your story cover. Don't have it explicit as hell with like somebody's tits out or like a penis on the cover, things, outlandish things of that sort. You don't have to keep things PG-13 squeaky clean on Radish, but you also don't need to do anything that you know is going to get your ass banned or deleted from the app. So be professional, be appropriate. Moving on, unless you're working hands-on with Radish, you're basically in charge of your own promotion for your stories. So you need to make sure that you're doing whatever you can to get people to come and read your content. So make sure that you're using a catchy but appropriate cover, non-copyrighted, royalty-free. Make sure that you're using the tags to the best of your abilities so that your discoverability remains high. Make sure you're not using boring ass titles for your chapters. Like, personally, to me, when I see a 50-page book, maybe the blurb was enough to draw me in, maybe the cover and title. But when I get to a 50 plus or 30 plus chapter book, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, yeah, like spice it up a little bit. Just spice it up a little bit with the titles. It doesn't hurt to have actual titles for your chapters. So yeah, work all of that shit into your promo, because that will definitely help you out in the long run. Because just because you're uploading your story, you hit publish and then you wait for the reads to roll in, it's not going to happen like that. So you're going to have to put in some work to get your story out there. So do some promo for your story launch on social media or whatever, so that people will come over and start to buy your content. Now, after you get your story drafted but nothing is officially published yet, The next thing that you need to take into account is what pricing model you want to set for your story. And this is how you make your money. Radish doesn't do this for you, so you actually have control over what pricing model you want to set for your book or your books. And something to keep in mind is that no matter what, the first 3 chapters of your story will always remain free. It's basically something to help draw the readers in. So do your best to make them as gripping as possible. Otherwise, if you have like a lackluster first 3 chapters and the rest of the book is locked, obviously nobody's going to want to buy the rest. So, make sure those first 3 chapters are gripping, and otherwise you'll lose potential readers. And when I say pricing model, I mean this is how people are going to pay for your stories. And with Radish, I don't know how it is with other platforms, but with Radish specifically, there's 3 models, and I'm going to read to you exactly how they're described by Radish. So the first model is free and self-explanatory. Free stories are unlocked indefinitely and are available to all readers free of charge. Choose this option if your story is already available in full for free elsewhere and you'd like to cross-post to develop a following on Radish, or to get readers hooked on your stories before asking them to pay for sequels or other stories. So my input on this, if you are bringing a series to Radish, 3-part series, it's best to keep, in my opinion, it's best to have book 1 for free to read, and then you can make people pay for book 2 and book 3. Something like that will be good if you're going to go with the free route. It's not a good idea personally, unless you're already an established author, to come to Radish as a brand new writer and your first book that you publish, all the chapters are locked. And like I said, unless you're established and you already have somewhat of a following and you know people are going to pay, great. If not, I would have my first book free to read so people can get a feel for who I am as a writer, and then the next book that I upload on Radish, I'll lock that one so people will have to pay to read. So by this point, I'll already kind of have a following, and you see where I'm going with this. You see where I'm going. Now the next model is called freemium. Freemium episodes are locked for a short period of time, then unlock and become free to read. Readers pay coins to access an episode during the episode lock period. If they would like to read an episode for free, they must wait until the lock period ends. Episodes are released according to the schedule you set in the episode scheduler. This is a great model to warm up readers to paying for your stories or for stories being transferred from other platforms. So to give you an example of this model, which is basically the most popular that a lot of authors use on Radish. So the first 3 chapters of your story, of course, are free. If you're under the freemium model, then chapter 4 will be automatically locked for 7 days. Chapter 5 will be locked for 14, and so on and so forth. So it doubles depending on the amount of chapters you get. Now, I don't know as of yet, because I haven't personally tried it, I don't know if you can tweak how many days a chapter is locked. That may be something to ask Radish support, but at this time I believe it's just set automatically by the 7-day, 14-day period. And by episode scheduler, that's basically a feature that Radish has, which means that you can set your chapters to automatically release on a specific day and at a specific time, so you don't have to worry about manually publishing a 50 chapter book Monday, Tuesday, Friday at 1 p.m. The scheduler will do that for you. And the last model is called premium. Premium stories are locked indefinitely, and readers pay with Radish coins in order to view them. Earn coins for all locked episodes no matter when they are published or when users read them. This option is great for new stories or backlist, as it allows you to publish episodes without giving them away for free. So, my input, unlike freemium stories, which is on a timer for the chapters, it unlocks after a certain amount of days, under the premium model, your chapters are locked forever. So, if readers want to read past chapter 3, they will have to pay. Otherwise, they won't be reading, because nothing unlocks and becomes free to read. Now that you know your choices for your pricing models, there's some other things to take into account, and that's once your pricing model is chosen, it cannot be changed once it has been set, so please choose wisely. And if you're still confused about which model will be the right one for you, Radish has a little questionnaire while you're uploading your book and looking at the pricing model options. There's a little questionnaire that you can fill out, and it will help guide you towards a decision. And if all else fails, you can email support and talk to a person and ask their suggestion. Now, while that sounds all good and great, depending on which model you choose, there may be an exclusivity period attached with it. And that basically means, and this is just an example, this is not set in stone, just an example. Let's say you upload your whole book onto Radish and it's under the freemium model. So chapters unlock after a certain amount of days. So you upload your whole book, and let's say once the last chapter unlocks and it's free to read, so after the last chapter unlocks, let's say X amount of days, 30 days after that chapter unlocks, you'll have to keep the book on Radish before you're able to publish it anywhere else. That's basically an example of an exclusivity period. So if you're setting your book under a payment model, Radish may ask you to keep that book on their platform even after all your chapters become free to read before you're able to start posting it elsewhere. Now, because this is part of the writer's contract and it's not information that's available to the public, I don't believe, I'm not going to take a chance and give that information out, so I can't give you exact information regarding the exclusivity clauses for the freemium and premium model. But once you become a writer with Radish, you will gain access to all of that information, so you'll have a chance to look at that and see what you're up against. So on to some other features that I believe will be good for you to know. Because people are paying for your stories, if you set it under freemium or premium model, you, in short, need to be uploading high quality work, or work that's, I won't say flawless, but something that's not riddled with errors and shit like that, because nobody wants to pay for that shit. So to help keep writers in check, I guess you can say, Radish only allows for you to make edits to your chapters during the first 7 days that they are published. So for example, let's say it's Monday, you publish chapter 4 on Monday, then that following Sunday, day 7, is the last day that you can make any edits to that chapter. After day 7, Radish takes the edit feature away, and any mistakes that you catch after that and need to be changed, you'll actually have to reach out to support and have them do it for you, because you won't have that option anymore. Now, when this feature first came out, I won't lie, it did have a lot of writers upset, including myself, but going forward, I kind of understand the reasoning behind it, so I can see how this can be both a good and a bad thing. Good because it basically forces writers to get their shit together the first time they upload, so you should already, if you're going to upload something that you want people to pay for, you should already look over that 100,000 times, or have your editor, if you can afford one, look over it, or a beta reader, somebody outside of yourself to double check behind you to make sure that your chapter is to the best of its abilities. Because putting a first draft on Radish and expecting people to pay for a first draft that is riddled with errors is just it's unacceptable. So there's that. But we're all human, and no matter how many times you look over something or have other people look over it, we all make mistakes. So I can see how it can also be on the bad side, because it sucks to have to go back over your story. Let's say a couple weeks after you publish it, you go back over to reread it and you find a couple words here and there that are misspelled, and now you can't change it because it's past the 7 days. So now you got to email support and go through that whole process. So that can be very annoying, and I do understand that. But the bottom line, if you're a reader who's paying for something, you want to get what you're paying for. So when you come back to read a story again or whatever, because most people like to reread if something's really, really good. If you come back to reread a story only to find that everything is different, then you're going to get confused and maybe even complain because that's not what you initially paid for. So the feature can easily get abused. And I guess that's one of the reasons why Radish did what they did with only having the option to edit a chapter during the first 7 days that it's published. Because if you as an author, if you're going back and tweaking your work, changing things around after people have already paid for it and somebody notices it, that can be a red flag. But hate it or love it, that's how it is, and this applies to all pricing models, by the way, even free books. So even if nobody is paying for the book and it's set for free to read, you're still under that deadline for the first 7 days that you have to edit your chapters. And some other cool features that I want to mention in regards to, or is going to be in regard to series. So if you have a series, book 1, book 2, book 3, Radish gives you the option to basically put them all together. So on the app, after a reader finishes book 1, instead of them having to go all the way back to your profile to find book 2, on the app with the series feature, which you have access to customize, it will automatically take the reader to book 2 once they finish book 1. So it makes the reading process a little easier. And that's another thing that I like about this app, because it's I don't see, or I haven't seen up until this point, any other apps that do that for a series. So that's a unique thing that Radish has against the others. And another thing to mention is the live chat feature. This is an automatic thing that happens, so nothing that you have to initiate. And pretty much the way that it works is after an episode of your book is released, a chat room will open up on the app or on the chapter, and readers can come in and chat and talk to you, talk to other people. It's only open for 3 hours, so it's not a forever thing. But because Radish doesn't have a commenting feature like Wattpad, so readers can't comment on chapters, the live chat feature is a good way for readers and writers to get that interaction with each other. And the last thing that I want to talk about is, and what I personally love the most about this, is about Radish itself, is that you can actually see how much money you're making. So if you've ever been approached by a shady ass company or app and they want you to write for them and they're going to pay you XYZ, and you get over there and you find out, how do I see what I'm making? How do I take your word for it? Well, with Radish, you can actually see how much you're making, and also it tells you on the chapters itself how many coins people have, or basically how many people have bought each chapter. So you can see all those good little details there. And the minimum threshold to cash out is $50, and you can request to be paid if you meet the threshold. Payment is every quarter, so January to March is quarter 1, April to June is quarter 2, so on and so forth. Now, after going over everything, because people like to compare them so much, obviously there's a lot of differences, some minor similarities between Radish and Wattpad, and the biggest, I think personally, will have to be that Radish is only available as an app, whereas Wattpad has an app and a website. So there's that. And I know back in the day, just to throw this out there, I know back in the day Radish kind of had a bad rap. And yeah, and ever since then, especially during the beginning of the launch, a lot of people just fucking shitted on them. It was bad for a while, and there was a point with the team running it at the time where just communication was fucking horrible between them and the writers. But recently they've gotten a new team, and shit's improved. So things are looking up now. So I just want to throw that out there. It's not the same app that it used to be. So people still shitting on it to this day. Yes, it has its flaws. It's not great. It's not the next Wattpad. It's its own thing. Personally, I like it because it's simple, easy to use. Basically, with Radish, you're in control. Of course, they get a cut of your revenue, but you're pretty much in control of everything else. So I like that aspect of Radish. And now that they do have a new team on board, communication has improved. So I'm personally a lot, I guess you could say, happy with them as of late. And no, this video is not sponsored by them. My opinions are my opinions. Take them however you want. I just wanted to do a video like this. And sorry for the train in the background. This always happens when I record. A fucking train comes out of nowhere. But I wanted to do a video like this to include it with my writing series here on my YouTube channel and for my podcast. Because while it's all great to talk about how to improve as a writer, at the end of the day, we all want to monetize our work and get compensation for what we put out. So that's the whole purpose for this video. And when I find another suitable app that you can earn from and that I believe will be a good fit to recommend, then I'll do another video, and so on and so forth. But that's the end for this video. It's long enough. And again, links for everything will be posted in the description box if you're interested. And if you have any questions about anything, do feel free to leave a comment and I'll ask if I'm allowed. If it's not something that'll break any contracts or anything like that. And of course, don't forget to thumbs up if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're not already. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video.